There we are. And here's the class this morning. Everybody is here. Waving. All right. And now we will look at the ceiling while we talk. The lesson text begins at Luke 9 and chapter 18. A little background to go with this. At this point in time, Jesus has been ministering in Galilee, teaching, healing, doing miracles for a while. The ministry started off, he's grown great crowds, gigantic crowds, thousands of people, and creating a great deal of hubbub because nobody had ever seen anything like this before. Nobody had ever heard anything like this before. But Jesus was never fooled by the crowds. We have a tendency to measure our success by counting noses. Jesus realizes what is in the human heart and the human spirit. And he never let the size of the crowds or the apparent popularity fool him. And indeed, in time, it starts to wane. And he is he says things that offend people, and they turn back. And so, as it gets along toward the end of that, he starts spending more and more time with the 12 that he has chosen as his apostles. And he starts to spend more and more time pouring himself into these men in anticipation of the time when he's going to be gone, and it's going to be on them to carry on the work of the kingdom. The crowds are still there, but less and less he's focusing on teaching to the crowds, and more he's starting to focus on the ones who are true disciples. And this is reflected in a lot of his teaching during this period of time. He starts more and more to emphasize the idea of who is really a disciple and who is not. You could use the word disciple in a very broad sense. Anybody who has some sort of attachment to a teacher. But he wants to know that everything that calls itself as a disciple is not a disciple. And so he does things like he teaches about the parable of the four soils, sometimes called the parable of the sower. And he talks about the seeds in different types of soil and how seed thrown along the path or on rocky ground or among thorns may take root. It may spring up for a short time, but it doesn't last. In chapter 8 of Luke, this is. And in chapter 8, he also tells the people, take care how you listen.